Good evening, Chair, Council, Mayor, members of the public. As was stated, this is the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report for the fiscal year 2022 for the CDBG program. Anyone who hasn't met me yet, I'm Chris Klimchuk, CDBG and Community Development Director. I'm going to just do a basic synopsis, brief summary of the results of the annual report. We're not going to get too much in the weeds. We've had 15 days. It's been out. The draft copy has been available to the public, council, everyone. Any questions, we'll entertain those, of course. I'll just give a brief overall view of the report for last year. That covered the time period July 1, 2022 to this past June 30th, 2023. That's our fiscal year. The City of Taylor, the total amount expended was $183,922. That was on eligible CDBG activities. That would be a little more than last year. Unfortunately, the past few years, post-COVID, a lot of entitlements, including City of Taylor, had a lot of unspent funds. And we're trying to catch up with that spending and proposing projects. So we're creeping up on the spending. Hopefully looking a little bit ahead to next year's CAPER. I'm sure we'll see a lot more robust spending and reporting on that. So this past year, we expended, out of that 183, 104 was on administrative activities, planning, all that goes along with the administration of the program. Whether you spend $1 or $1 million, we still have to deal with compliance, reporting to HUD, and all the administrative oversight of the CDBG program. We also, another portion of that spending covered a few categories. We had some park improvement expenditure under that line item, and that was again some planning, design, and some related activities for some of the park projects that were being that had begun during the last fiscal year but not completed. And once again, in the CAPER, we report every year. We report completed activities and projects. There isn't like partial reporting on data, so that's why a lot of the categories had zeros, or we didn't have reporting because we wait until the projects are done. And like I said, looking ahead, that's going to occur in next year's CAPER because we're going to be completing a number of projects during this fiscal year. Another area of spending was the McGuire Street project, which just got done. We're going to close that out and pay those invoices very shortly. But that took place in this fiscal year. But we did do some design and planning for that project, and that was part of that $183,000. There was some expenditures that went out for that last year. There were some housing rehab expenditures. Even though we didn't do any projects per se, there's still administration, evaluating applications, and ongoing expenses related to the residential or the home rehab program. And then administration, like I stated earlier, was $104,000 out of that amount. And that's for the overall administration of the CDBG program. Also, the CDBG CD, which is the COVID funding, that doesn't have a year-to-year reporting process like the CDBG program. However, we report on that as well during our annual CAPER. Even though the spending took place a couple of years ago, we've expended $443,000 out of our $600,000 and so allocation for CDBG CD. That was to assist small businesses during COVID. So we have the about $164,000 left to spend out of the COVID funding, and we're currently looking at some programs and projects to expend that. But we have till late 2026 to completely spend that out. So we do have a little time, but we're not going to we're going to get on that as soon as we can to spend that money out as well. But that's not considered in the CDBG caper proper, but we do report on that as well, just to let everybody know how that spending's going. That's pretty much a synopsis of and a summary of the CDBG program.
Are there any
spending
questions?
for last year. So
Are there any questions from the council?
Mr. Chairman, just quickly.
Mr. Ramick, Mr. Chair.
What can that money be spent on as far as the COVID funding?
Through the chair, it must be used to respond to the COVID crisis, so that the spending has to be directly related to COVID. In the guidance that's coming out right now, they're actually mentioning a term of future pandemics, so we have a little bit more broader way that we can consider spending that to mitigate not only COVID, but any future pandemics or situation that might come up. So we're looking at maybe a park project or some type of senior-related project, related to that. But we're examining that, and we're going to hopefully have a viable project that coincides with the guidance that we're getting for the COVID money. So,
Thank you.
Any further discussion from the council? If not, this is a public hearing for federal requirements. This is open to the public, so if there is any discussion point that the public has, you can come forward at this point in time. Seeing none, a motion to approve closing of the public hearing for the Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, CAPER, program year 2022 is in order.
Support.
Motion by Councilwoman Brandana, supported by Councilman Ramick, to close the public hearing. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. The yeses have it, motion carried. Thank you. Motion, item 7.5 is a motion to approve Monroe Motorsports Incorporated sole source most qualified bidder for repairs to Polaris in an amount not to exceed $2,189 funded through General Fund, Fire Department, repairs and maintenance.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Ramick, supported by Councilwoman Rose. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. The ayes have it, motion carried. Item 7.6 is a motion to approve one building department employee for an overnight stay to attend the Code Officials Conference of Michigan in Bel Air, Michigan for an amount not to exceed $600 plus incidentals, funded through building department training and transportation accounts.
Motion to approve.
Support. Motion by Councilwoman Brandana, supported by Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Yes, it's have it, motion carried. Item 7.7, motion to receive and file the August 2023 budget performance report.
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Witten, supported by Councilwoman Rose. Is there any discussion?
Chairman,
Councilman.
could I ask the CFO if he's here to come up and explain it to the camera?
We got 1 of 12 months done. How are we doing?
Through a chair, actually, to Councilwoman Jill Brandana's question, it's actually 2 months in the fiscal year, so we're in August. So if you look at the report, I usually start with general fund and usually just report general fund because that's the main operating fund for the city. We look at page 3 of the document, you'll see in there that we collected about $2.7 million of revenue, which is about 5.63% of the budget, but timing is as such, we just started collecting summer taxes. We haven't even received any state aid yet from the state. That usually starts in October. So again, we expect revenues to be a little bit lower through August. So we're still anticipating to meet budget guidelines with our revenue. On the expense side, total expenses through August is approximately $7.2 million, which is about 15% of budget. If you look at the, if you think that the expenses incur evenly over 12 months, that puts you about 17%. So we're a little bit under 17%, so we are less than what we budget for expenses through the month, so that's good. Revenues are down and That being said, overall, the use of fund balance right now is 4.5 million.